Subscribe to Sleeponomics to never miss our calm business stories, designed to help you learn, relax, or gently drift off. Imagine a quiet forest in southern Sweden. It's 1926. The roads are muddy, the houses are wooden, and life moves slowly. In this setting, far from the noise of global commerce, a boy named Ingvar Kamprad is born. No one could predict that this boy, raised on a small farm in Småland, would grow up to create a business empire that would furnish homes on every continent. Småland was known for its hard soil and harder life. The people of this region were famously frugal, practical, and inventive. Resources were limited, so creativity was essential. Ingvar grew up observing this mindset, a lifestyle built on efficiency, minimal waste, and making things last. These values would become the silent core of the company he would later build. As a young child, Ingvar started his first business by selling matches. He would buy them in bulk from Stockholm, repackage them, and sell them locally at a small profit. He soon expanded to selling pens, Christmas cards, and even fish. These early experiments were not just play. They were his first lessons in logistics, margins, and customer behavior. At age 17, he officially registered a small mail-order company. He named it IKEA, combining his own initials, IK, with the names of the family farm, ElevenLabs, and the nearby village, Narrated. It was a simple name for what would become a global brand. But at the time, it was just a teenage boy with a bicycle, a rural address, and a hunger to build something lasting. No storefront, no investors, no big vision, just products, customers, and an eye for value. That's how it started, not with an explosion, but with a whisper. By the late 1940s, Ingvar Kamprad's mail-order business was growing. He was selling small household goods, and the Swedish post system made it possible to reach customers across the country. But soon, something shifted. Customers began to want larger items, and furniture offered a natural next step. Furniture in Sweden at the time was expensive and often considered a luxury. The idea of affordable furniture was almost unheard of. Kamprad saw an opportunity. If he could deliver well-designed furniture at a price that working families could afford, he would tap into a market that had been ignored for decades. The challenge was logistics. Shipping tables and chairs was difficult and costly. So IKEA found a way around it: disassemble the furniture, pack it flat, and let the customer do the final step at home. This simple innovation changed everything. It reduced shipping costs, warehouse space, and damage during transport. And it allowed IKEA to price its products far below competitors. In 1953, IKEA opened its first showroom in Älmhult. Customers could now see the products before ordering. The combination of display and mail order was new, and it worked. More importantly, Kamprad refused to copy traditional furniture retailers. He avoided urban showrooms and glossy catalogs. Instead, he leaned into simplicity, rural charm, and cost-cutting. The tone was humble, and the business model was quietly radical. IKEA would not just sell furniture, it would redefine how people thought about furniture: functional, affordable, and beautifully ordinary. The quiet revolution had begun. Ingvar Kamprad didn't act like a typical CEO. He flew economy class. He stayed in budget hotels. He famously drove a decades-old Volvo long after IKEA had become a billion-dollar business. His personal values mirrored his company's values: frugality, simplicity, and efficiency. Kamprad's approach wasn't about image, it was about conviction. He believed that wasting money was morally wrong. For him, low prices weren't just a market strategy, they were a philosophy. If IKEA was going to serve the many people, as its mission stated, then every cost had to be justified. Every kroner saved internally could translate to lower prices for customers. This mindset shaped every aspect of the company. It's why IKEA uses flat pack packaging, self-service warehouses, and minimal in-store staff. It's also why the company invests heavily in supply chain efficiency and scale production. The goal was always clear: reduce unnecessary cost and never lose sight of the customer. Kamprad also had a distrust of luxury. He saw excessive design, branding, and marketing as distractions from value. IKEA's aesthetic became a reflection of this belief: clean, minimal, functional. The furniture didn't need to shout. It just needed to work. In many ways, Kamprad's personal habits set the tone for an entire corporate culture, a culture that preferred modesty over glamour and results over appearances. It's rare to find a company whose global identity is so deeply tied to the personality of its founder, but with IKEA, the connection was unmistakable. Even as the company expanded into dozens of countries, that frugal DNA remained intact. Kamprad wasn't just a businessman. He was a writer, a teacher, and in many ways, a quiet philosopher. He believed that leadership should be personal, practical, and long-term. In 1976, he wrote a booklet for IKEA employees called The Testament of a Furniture Dealer. It laid out the company's values in plain, almost poetic terms. Among its core messages were ideas like, "Only while sleeping, one makes no mistakes," "A better everyday life for the many people," "Simplicity and humbleness are virtues." These weren't empty slogans. They were lived principles, and they still guide the company today. Kamprad saw the business not as a machine, but as a community. He encouraged feedback from every level. He believed in promoting from within, and he warned against the arrogance that can come with success. In his words, the greatest danger to IKEA's future was complacency. Even after he stepped back from daily operations, Kamprad remained involved behind the scenes. He wrote internal memos, visited stores unannounced, and maintained a quiet influence over strategic direction. His presence was like gravity, invisible, but always there. This kind of founder influence is rare in modern business. IKEA was not just shaped by Kamprad's decisions, but by his worldview. A worldview that prioritized usefulness over status, continuity over disruption, and calm consistency over hype. And in the fast-moving world of global retail, that made IKEA unique. The idea of flat-pack furniture might seem obvious today, but when IKEA began using it in the 1950s, it was a quiet revolution. It all started with a problem: shipping costs. Traditional furniture was large, heavy, and expensive to transport. A simple table could take up an entire truck. That meant higher prices and limited reach. IKEA's breakthrough came when an employee, Gillis Lundgren, removed the legs from a table to fit it into a car. That small act sparked an idea. What if all furniture could be designed for disassembly? What if the customer could take the parts home and build it themselves? The answer was the flat pack. By designing every item to be compact, IKEA could lower shipping costs dramatically. Warehouses could store more, trucks could carry more, stores could be smaller. It also shifted the final stage of labor, assembly, to the customer. This wasn't just logistics. It was economics, psychology, and design in harmony. It required careful engineering. Every piece had to be intuitive, affordable, and standardized. Over time, IKEA refined its assembly manuals into a visual language understood globally. No text, just images, like Lego for grown-ups. The flat pack became more than a format. It became a symbol, a sign that this was furniture for the practical, cost-conscious, do-it-yourself consumer. And it became one of the core reasons why IKEA could scale globally while competitors struggled to keep pace. IKEA's design philosophy is deceptively simple: clean lines, muted colors, functional form. But beneath the surface lies a careful balance of cost, culture, and usability. This is not luxury furniture, nor is it purely utilitarian. It's democratic design, a concept IKEA helped popularize. Each product begins with a price point. IKEA designers are told, here's how much the customer should pay. Now design something beautiful, useful, and affordable within that limit. This reverse approach flips the traditional model of design. It starts not with artistic vision, but with economic boundaries. To make this work, IKEA works closely with suppliers from the earliest stages. They co-engineer materials, simplify components, and reuse proven formats. Many items are built from a shared set of parts, allowing massive scale and consistent quality. But despite this industrial logic, the human factor remains central. IKEA spends months studying how people live, especially in small spaces. They test products in real homes, watch customer behavior in stores, and use feedback loops to improve each iteration. The result is furniture that feels personal, even though it's mass-produced. A bookshelf that fits perfectly in a narrow hallway. A bed with hidden storage for city apartments. A table that expands just enough for weekend guests. By designing for the many, IKEA reached the fewest by accident. It created items that felt universal. Quietly, without exclusivity, it shaped how millions of people live. Walking into an IKEA store is not like walking into any other retailer. There's a reason for that. It's by design. IKEA stores are famously structured as a one-way labyrinth. Customers are guided through a predetermined path, past every department, through carefully staged rooms, before reaching the marketplace and checkout. This layout is not accidental. It's built to encourage exploration, inspiration, and slow movement. As customers walk, they see complete solutions, not just products. A kitchen is set up, lit perfectly, filled with coordinated items. It feels lived in, relatable, achievable. This method turns shopping into an experience. It helps customers imagine their own spaces differently. It also increases the chance of discovering products they weren't looking for. The longer you stay, the more you see. The more you see, the more you buy. IKEA calls this the long, natural path. It mimics a journey through a home. Each department reveals a new function: cooking, sleeping, working, organizing. And unlike many retailers, IKEA doesn't push promotional signage or aggressive sales tactics. The atmosphere is calm, almost domestic. Even the cafeteria plays a role. It offers affordable meals, providing a break in the shopping flow. It's not just about food. It extends dwell time, encourages families to come together, and makes the store feel like a full-day experience rather than a quick errand. It's subtle, but effective. IKEA designed not just a store, but a behavioral environment. The IKEA shopping experience relies on a blend of psychology and structure, and it works in part because it balances three critical elements: time, choice, and effort. First, time. IKEA stores are not meant for quick visits. They are immersive, almost meditative. This slowness is intentional. It allows customers to browse without urgency, to feel emotionally connected to the spaces they walk through. In a world of fast commerce, IKEA slows things down. Second, choice. IKEA offers thousands of products, but they are tightly curated. Within each category, options are limited, not overwhelming. This reduces decision fatigue. Items are grouped logically. Price tags are clear. The sense of control remains with the customer. Third, effort. The customer assembles the furniture, often transports it, and navigates the store's complex layout. At first glance, this seems inconvenient, but paradoxically, it creates emotional investment. The so-called IKEA effect describes how people value products more when they've put effort into building them. This psychological loop makes IKEA products feel earned. The customer becomes part of the creation process. The flat pack isn't just a cost-saving tool, it's a mechanism of engagement. Together, these three elements form the core of IKEA's in-store psychology. It's calm but calculated, simple but engineered. In the 1970s and 1980s, IKEA began expanding beyond Scandinavia. First to Switzerland, then Germany, then the wider world. But the company didn't use aggressive marketing or celebrity branding. Its approach was quiet, patient, and deeply local. Every new market started with research. How do people live? What are the average room sizes? What materials do they trust? In Japan, IKEA initially failed because it didn't adapt to local space constraints. Years later, they returned with a new strategy: smaller products, different delivery methods, and a deeper understanding of urban living. In the United States, IKEA faced a different challenge. American homes were larger, preferences were different, and customers were used to pre-assembled furniture. IKEA responded gradually, adapting bed sizes, modifying kitchen standards, but never abandoning its core principles. This adaptability became a strength. Instead of forcing a one-size-fits-all model, IKEA learned to localize within a global identity. Stores looked familiar, but product lines evolved. What stayed consistent was the price philosophy, the self-service model, and the design language. By the early 2000s, IKEA was in more than 30 countries. Today, it operates over 450 stores worldwide, but it still opens new locations slowly, strategically, and always with long-term intent. In a world that values speed, IKEA chose endurance. Each time IKEA enters a new country, it brings more than products. It brings a carefully engineered concept, Scandinavian design, flat-pack logistics, and a consistent brand experience. But the key to its success abroad has always been quiet adaptability. In China, for example, IKEA discovered that many customers didn't own cars. Transporting flat-pack furniture themselves was not always feasible. So IKEA adjusted its strategy, offering delivery services, smaller urban showrooms, and even changing store layouts to match local behavior. In India, cultural habits required deeper changes. IKEA adapted its product offerings, adding stainless steel kitchen tools, affordable pressure cookers, and traditional bedding. It also trained staff to explain self-assembly to first-time customers unfamiliar with the concept. But even with such adjustments, the visual identity of IKEA remained constant. The blue and yellow buildings, the familiar typography, the cafeteria, the flat-pack model, these became touchstones of familiarity across borders. Customers around the world knew what to expect. This ability to adapt without losing identity is rare. IKEA's model is scalable, but not rigid. Each store is a balance of global branding and local insight. the company doesn't expand quickly. It expands deliberately, studying new markets over years before fully committing. This blueprint allowed IKEA to grow without noise. No global ad campaigns, no celebrity endorsements, just design, value, and presence, repeated, refined, and trusted. IKEA is one of the largest private companies in the world. But unlike most large firms, it is not owned by a family, shareholders, or a corporate group. Instead, IKEA's structure is surprisingly complex and quietly brilliant. The company is split into two major parts. One part runs the stores, the other owns the brand, concept, and intellectual property. At the top of this structure is a Dutch-registered foundation, the Stichting Inca Foundation. This foundation technically owns Inca Holding, which operates the vast majority of IKEA stores globally. Its stated purpose is charitable, with a long-term focus on education and innovation. But in practice, it also serves a protective function, insulating IKEA from hostile takeovers, short-term investors, and market pressures. Meanwhile, the IKEA brand itself is owned by IKEA Systems, based in the Netherlands and controlled by a different branch of the structure. This entity receives franchise fees from all IKEA stores, ensuring a steady stream of income, regardless of operational profits. This setup allows IKEA to function like a private company with public mission stability. It reinvests profits, avoids market speculation, and plans decades ahead. It's a system built for continuity, not exit. Few companies have such a model. It reflects Ingvar Kamprad's vision: independence, control, and purpose, protected by legal architecture rather than PR promises. In today's business world, growth often comes with outside capital. Companies go public, raise funds, and expand under the pressure of quarterly expectations. IKEA chose a different path. By remaining private and foundation-owned, it avoided the noise of financial markets entirely. This has given the company extraordinary freedom. It can make slow decisions. It can delay expansion if the time isn't right. It can invest in logistics, sustainability, or technology without having to justify short-term returns. It also means IKEA isn't forced into trends. It doesn't chase headlines. It rarely issues press releases. Major changes, from store redesigns to digital upgrades, often happen quietly, tested in a few markets, scaled only when mature. This long-term horizon has helped IKEA weather economic storms. During financial crises, it focused on price discipline and operational strength. During e-commerce disruption, it adapted cautiously, without abandoning its store-centric model. Always deliberate, always quiet. The absence of shareholders doesn't mean absence of accountability. IKEA's internal governance is strict. Profitability matters. Efficiency is monitored. But the priorities are different. Growth must serve purpose. Expansion must serve resilience. And that mindset, more than any strategy, is what makes IKEA an anomaly in global business. Over the years, many analysts have speculated about what would happen if IKEA went public. With its scale, brand strength, and profitability, the company could command enormous valuation. Yet the answer from IKEA has always been the same: no interest. For Kamprad, the idea of a public listing conflicted with everything he believed. The pressure to produce short-term results, the loss of control, the risk of mission drift, all were unacceptable trade-offs. He designed IKEA's legal structure specifically to make a stock market listing almost impossible. That decision protected the company from outside influence. It also forced IKEA to be self-sufficient. Growth had to be funded by internal profits. Every expansion, every investment came from what the business generated, not external capital. Critics might say this limited how fast IKEA could grow, but in practice, it created discipline. Every new store had to justify itself. Every country launch had to prove long-term viability. It also allowed IKEA to keep prices low. Without shareholders demanding constant margin increases, the company could reinvest savings into affordability, staying true to its promise of serving the many people. In many ways, avoiding the stock market wasn't just a financial decision, it was a cultural one. It preserved IKEA's identity, it insulated its values, and it built a business not for hype, but for decades. Remaining private has many advantages, but it comes with challenges too. IKEA must grow carefully. It cannot raise capital through equity. It must maintain tight cost control, and its complexity can sometimes limit agility, but the benefits continue to outweigh the risks. IKEA can focus on sustainability without waiting for policy shifts. It can test new retail formats, such as city center stores or circular product lines, without market scrutiny, and it can say no to growth when the conditions aren't right. This autonomy has allowed IKEA to do things other companies might avoid. It invested heavily in renewable energy. It bought forests to secure sustainable wood supply. It built its own design school and lab facilities. These were not PR moves. They were infrastructure decisions, aligned with a 30-year view, not a quarterly report. There is also cultural stability. Employees feel part of a mission, not just a company. Long careers are common. Internal promotion is encouraged. Decision-making is slower, but deeper. The absence of market pressure creates internal pressure to be efficient, thoughtful, and consistent. The result is rare, a company with global scale, but a local pace. IKEA doesn't make dramatic moves. It evolves, it adjusts, and it protects its identity with quiet precision. In a world of business noise, that's an advantage all its own. IKEA is not without problems. Over the decades, it has faced criticism over labor conditions, sourcing practices, environmental impact, and cultural insensitivity. But what makes IKEA unique is how it responds, rarely with grand gestures, often with quiet, steady reform. In the early 2000s, IKEA faced scrutiny over its use of wood from unsustainable sources. It responded by investing in traceability, buying forests, and becoming one of the largest users of FSC-certified wood globally. In other cases, it was employee welfare. IKEA increased wages in the U.S. retail sector earlier than most competitors. It introduced equality policies across stores worldwide, even in regions where such standards were uncommon. During the refugee crisis, IKEA Foundation partnered with the UN to create flat-pack shelters, using its design capabilities for humanitarian use. These actions were not heavily publicized, but they reflected the company's belief in long-term responsibility. IKEA has also made major shifts in operations. It invested in solar and wind energy, aiming to become climate positive. It redesigned packaging to reduce waste. And it experimented with furniture leasing, resale, and repair programs, anticipating a more circular economy. These aren't reactive campaigns. They are structural adjustments, slow, data-driven, and consistent with the brand's quiet character. One of IKEA's most underappreciated strengths is its ability to learn without drawing attention. Mistakes happen, markets fail, strategies backfire. But rather than defend or spin, IKEA tends to withdraw, listen, and adapt. Its first attempt to enter Japan failed in the 1980s. Rather than blame the market, IKEA exited, studied its mistakes, and re-entered 2 decades later with a localized model. Today, it has dozens of stores in the country. In the United States, early stores were too small, and furniture dimensions didn't match local norms. IKEA corrected these over time. It didn't chase headlines, it simply improved. Digital transformation is another area of quiet evolution. IKEA was late to e-commerce, but it caught up through acquisition, in-house innovation, and platform redesign. Today, online sales make up a growing share of its revenue, integrated seamlessly with in-store experience. This quiet learning culture is rare in corporations of this size. IKEA doesn't posture. It rarely blames. It fixes. Slowly, internally, and for the long term. And perhaps that is its greatest competitive advantage: the humility to be wrong and the patience to correct course without the world watching. Sustainability is no longer a niche concern. For a company like IKEA, which produces millions of products annually, the environmental impact is real. And yet, IKEA has made it a priority not through big declarations, but through deep structural change. Wood is at the heart of IKEA's business. Nearly 2/3 of its products contain wood or wood-based materials. That's why IKEA has spent decades investing in sustainable forestry, tracing every source, and owning forests outright. It has also shifted its energy model. By investing in wind farms, solar panels, and energy storage, IKEA now produces more renewable energy than it consumes globally. It also helps suppliers make the same transition. On the product side, IKEA redesigned dozens of items to use fewer materials, recycled inputs, and modular parts. Packaging has been optimized to reduce size and emissions, and in-store recycling, repair stations, and circular hubs are slowly becoming standard. These efforts are not about marketing. They are about resilience. A business that depends on natural resources must protect those resources. And IKEA understands that its future depends on long-term ecological balance, not perfection, just progress in the IKEA way, quietly, consistently, and piece by piece. The next frontier for IKEA is circularity, designing products and systems that eliminate waste and extend life. This is more than recycling, it's a shift in mindset. IKEA now explores furniture that can be taken apart and reassembled multiple times, products that can be upgraded rather than replaced, materials that can return to the production cycle. The goal is not just reuse, but regeneration. It's also testing services, furniture rental, buyback programs, spare part availability. These models challenge the traditional one-way flow of retail. They require logistics, software, and new customer behavior. But IKEA believes they will define the next generation of home living. Internally, the company invests in labs, partnerships, and early-stage material science. From biodegradable composites to 3D printed components, the innovation pipeline is long-term by design. It's not about being first, it's about being ready when the world is. What makes IKEA endure? It's not just affordability or design, it's a deeper DNA built on purpose, patience, and principle. At its core, IKEA believes in improving everyday life. That idea sounds simple, but applying it at scale, across cultures, languages, and economies, is a remarkable achievement. From the early flat pack to the latest circularity experiments, the company has stayed loyal to its mission. Create value without excess, beauty without luxury, and comfort without cost. It has done this by thinking long, acting slow, and always returning to its roots, Småland frugality, Kamprad's philosophy, and the belief that doing better matters more than being bigger. IKEA teaches us that greatness doesn't have to be loud, that scale doesn't require speed, and that principles, when truly lived, can outlast trends. It's a story of business built on thoughtfulness, a global company run like a village workshop, a brand that values silence as much as it values impact. What can we learn from IKEA? Perhaps that the most powerful ideas are often the quietest, that endurance comes from simplicity, and that the best way to lead is to serve with humility, consistency, and care. What do you take from IKEA's story? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for joining us.